Talofa aloha, maloni malolele, kia ora, kia orana, bola, whakalofala yatu. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Tagaloa Tradition Teachings. It's where we unveil the principles, the ethics, the morals, and the values of our spirituality, which are woven into our culture. So when we live our daily lives according to our culture, we are actually practicing our spirituality, which is pretty much how our ancestors lived their lives in the past. The objective of this podcast is decolonization, spiritual decolonization, because we believe the time is right to restore the spirit God of Moana, Tagaloa, the mana of Moana, back in its rightful designated place, which is in your spirit and in my heart. Because it's that mana that spiritually engineers the thoughts in our minds, the words that we speak, and the actions that we take. Knowing how our ancestors behaved begs the question of whether we are doing the same. If we are practicing our culture in a way similar to how they did, then we know that our culture is very much alive today. But if we do things differently, we have to ask if those questions have been beneficial and whether we can reclaim what has been forgotten, lost, or even suppressed. Once again, welcome to another episode of Tagaloa Tradition Teachings. This is a Moana spiritual revival. This week I want to talk about Sundays growing up in the islands. Sundays in the islands growing up. You see, Sunday is the big feast that we call the To'onai. And all throughout the week, we put aside things that we receive, the best of the best, food-wise, for the feast on Sunday. Usually in the village, there'll be only 2 or 3 families with refrigerators. So if we get a piece of pork, piece of meat, or some chickens during the week, maybe there was a funeral, there was a wedding, or an event like that. So we get that food and put it aside for Sunday, and we take it to this family with a fridge to keep it until Sunday. Preparatory work. That's what I want to talk about this week. Preparatory work. Preparing for the Sunday To'onai, the Sunday feast. The funny thing about this preparatory work is Saturday, the day before Sunday, even the economy of Samoa comes to a halt. It's half a day. So the people who live in the outbacks can go back and spend Sunday for the feast with their family, because they come here to town because it's closer to the schools and closer to work. And so all the students and everybody will go back on Friday or Saturday to be with their families on Sunday. And it's the same thing that happens with the big island of Savaii. People from Savaii would come and stay in Polu because the work is here and the schools are here. And they go back Fridays and Saturdays to be with their families for the Sunday To'onai, the Sunday feast. It's a celebration where, as a family, we come together to celebrate the achievements we made in the past week. And it's a coming together to put our minds, our physical strength, and our spirits together for the challenges that lay ahead in the week to come. But I remember in New Zealand, my younger brother, he's an opera singer. And he talked to me about my career as a pop singer. Now, you know, opera singers are like the classy stuff, and pop singers are like your run-of-the-mill entertainment stuff. And he always said to me, he says, Fatu, you know, preparatory work is more important is so important that it's even more important than the event itself. Preparatory work. And so, thinking about that, I was able to link it, align it with this preparatory work for this feast. Because this Tōnai on Sunday, it brings the whole family together. And when they come together, they celebrate with a feast where everything was saved from the week before so that everybody could have a bite of it on Sunday. Preparatory work. And so on Saturdays, preparing for the feast on Sunday, usually the untitled men would go fishing for the fish for the Sunday. And the rest of the family would go to the plantation to get the rest of the stuff for preparing for the feast on Sunday. So all the families in the village are doing exactly the same thing. Half of their family is going fishing, the other half is going out to the... So when we go to the plantation, we are going at the same time with all the other families in the village. So now it's a communal thing. And so us kids will play on the way going up, and then we get there and we clear out a little batch to grow the taro and the banana and so forth. Then we have a rest and have coconuts for lunch. And then we start getting the stuff together to take back home to the village for the umu on Sunday. One thing we learned, though, irrespective of how old or how young you are, we are in the family, you are always to carry something back with you. The oldest person would have something, I don't know, he would be holding a stick, and that stick would be for the firewood for the umu. And even young kids, the youngest ones, would have these sticks that they would play with. But they're carrying something in preparation that contribute to making the umu for the feast. And so when we get back, all the other families in the village have gotten back. And that's the time when the fishing expedition has come back as well. And this is what happens. All the paramount chiefs would sit on the grass at the marae. And all the fishermen would bring their fish and just dump it in front of them. And if there are 20 paramount chiefs in the village, that means there are 20 pockets of families with their paramount chief at the top. So what they do, the paramount chiefs do, is they make piles of 20 piles of fish. But this is the thing growing up as youngsters. See, other kids from the village we know, and we look, and we see our guy brought in a whole bunch, maybe 40 fish. And my friends' guys brought in maybe 10 or even 8. And yet, when they bring all of this catch together, they put it together and then they proportion it out evenly so that everyone in the family, whether they caught large or small, everyone would get the same. We're talking about preparatory work in preparing for the umu, for the feast to celebrate it. But this is part of the preparatory work, is preparing our children in watching our culture and knowing there's a spirituality in it, to see that it's a community. Individuals, yes, make up the community, but you don't come in as an individual. You come in as an individual to share your skills, to share your resources, to share what we have for the community. So not only it's preparatory work for the feast, but it's also preparatory work for the transition from a young boy to a young man. Transition from being a taule'a to being a matai. And transition from being a matai to being the paramount chief. And all these things we don't learn in a classroom. We learn it hands-on, growing up. Yes, because we're watching our older cousins. We're watching our fathers, who are the chiefs and the paramount chiefs. And as we grow up, there is nothing that is taught. Everything is hands-on, and you learn on the job. What's the job? Growing up. That's the biggest preparatory work in the feast, the Tonai, on Sunday. Preparatory work. So I still remember my brother. But the event itself, it gets to the point where the event itself is not important because now you know it back to front. How would you know it back to front? How would you know it so well? It's because you've done your preparatory work. Yeah. And I think that's a nice guiding light for our voyage this week. Know that in life and in our culture is the pathway for us to prepare for the transition from being a boy to a man. Yes, we do the tattoo and the tatau. Yes, that's all part of the transition and of the preparatory work. But this is how rich the culture of Moana is. It is not taught in the school so we would memorize it. No, it is taught hands-on by watching and listening. And then it innates into every fiber of our bodies, into every cell of our brains. So when the mana of Moana dwells in its rightful place, in your soul and in my heart, that's the spiritual engineering of the thoughts we entertain in our minds and the words that we speak for harmony and peace, and the actions that we do out of kindness, because our culture is founded on respect and love. Sundays, growing up in the village. This week, preparatory work. From all of us in our indigenous motherlands, to all of you, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, stay blessed. And until next Sunday, so long.